Well. It's Saturday, December 14th. It's 11 a.m. Eastern Time. I'm Bob Harris. And it's time for my weekly Ask Me Anything live stream. But before we get to the questions, and I see they are already there, footballguys.com is the website. I appreciate you joining me here every Saturday at this very time. Tuesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern Time for my On the Hot Seat live streams. We had one of our new Football Guys staffers, Mike Shuba, on Tuesday. He was fantastic. You go catch the replay of that if you want a lot of good information in there that's still viable to some point, unless you play Cooper Kupp, then nothing can save you. And I apologize. So does Cooper Kupp. Hit the subscribe button, the notification bell, share, like, comment, do all the things that YouTube would love you to do to make this thing more popular. But mostly, we all know why I'm here, right? You know why I'm here? Do you know why I come here every week? Because I like hanging out with y'all. It's very helpful to me. I'm sitting here steeped in the content and being in touch with people, super smart people who have great questions, and it helps me stay connected and understand what's going on. And I appreciate seeing y'all. Good morning, Royal. Good morning. Good morning, CPD3. Oh, Sir Juwan Jennings, that was stuff. It's Lester, how are you? Oh, another cup. Purdy. It's like this is the danger of the Thursday game, right? This is why we all hate to play the Thursday night players, because this is the possible outcome. Like, we know that could be a great game. There have been some great games Thursday night and some great fantasy performances on Thursday night this year, but when you get that done, you got to sit there and stew on it all week long. It's brutal. It's horrible. We're going to go through a little bit of news, talk about some of the players we need to have on our radar going into this thing, and then we'll get to the questions. We'll have some discussions again, one more time for the people in the back. This is a discussion. I'm like, you have questions. We're going to discuss the questions. I'm going to give you an answer. My answer, you're going to be surprised to learn. My ability to see the future with clarity is no better than yours, right? I mean, so if this is the hunch, the hunch lecture. If you have a hunch, if you want to play a player, and I'm telling, hey, Scampers, and I'm telling you I would play somebody else, that doesn't mean you shouldn't play your player. I'm going to explain the pros and cons of the various players, explain the situation. Again, you're smart people. I'm no smarter than you. What I am is steeped in the subject, right? And there is a difference. I'm going to, I better know something, right? Because this is what I'm doing all day, every day. And I'm discussing with people every single day on the radio or writing about it. And my in and out column will be out today. If you like those kind of logic-based hot takes, as I like to call them, or as Keith Overton calls them, some sneaky starts and uncomfortable fades. That's the whole idea behind it. Today, I'm going to feature some interesting players. One, Jalen Hurts, who is ranked way inside the top 5. I don't like the matchup for him. I don't know that he reaches that. Am I going to tell you not to start Jalen Hurts? Of course not. Start Jalen Hurts. But if you're pay $8,000 on DraftKings, you might want to think about it. He has one 300-yard game all season. So we're going to talk through some of these situations. I'm going to discuss the questions you have, and we're gonna sort some things out. I know it's more important to you. I'm hoping at this time of year we get to that point where in this fantasy business you realize there are fewer eyes on you, but the eyes that are on you are way more interested because it matters more. So I do understand. So look at this. Throne Force. That's what we want to see, from 2-5 to 9-5 with the playoff bye. This is it. Keep grinding, people. Never give up. Keep going, man. I love that. I wish I had similar success in many of my leagues. Good morning, Gary Dolan. Good morning, Steve. Good to see you. We're gonna get to this. These are the kind of questions, right? Like, how do you deal with a situation? What is the how do you go through? And there are some logical steps you can take, right, to deal with Bucky Irving. And the good news is Gus Edwards is a late game option, right? And the question is what do I do they're in the same game, obviously. So what do you do if if Bucky Irving is actually available? What's your level of trust? And so I'm going to get into this right now because I like this question, because it's an assessment question, right? So you have to try to decide if you think a portion of Bucky Irvin is worth all of Gus Edwards. And we can get into the Kamani Vidal discussion right now, right? Like, I know people out there want to play Kamani Vidal. I know people, and he had more snaps than Gus Edwards last week. He did not have more production. Like, I think you're taking, like, I won't go on my Kamani Vidal rant. But that's the decision point, is a portion of Bucky Irving. And the concern is we saw him leave the game last week early, right? We saw him in the game before. He got hurt during the game. He was questionable return. He did return and he was dominant. He would crush them, right? So, so it's your own. So, like, my level of trust in Bucky Irving and Gus Edwards might be slightly different in the years, but I'm going to take a conservative approach when I'm advising you, because it's the wise thing to do. Because I don't want to. But the bottom line is, I'm not there looking at you in the mirror on Monday when a decision you've made that you said, wow, Bob decided for me. No, I didn't. You got to decide. That's why, because you can't sit there and kick my ass. Sorry, Joe. You can only kick your own. Right? So make these decisions on your own. The Bucky Irvin, that's the assessment. That's what you decide. Is a portion of Bucky Irvin possibly worth more? So what you do, though, is you pay attention. This is correct. Like, and this is also correct. So this is where the assessment is. How do you decide? Well, I'm deciding, like, Bucky Irving. So what I'm gonna do is, because I have time, I'm gonna wait. Right? I'm gonna take this all the way out to game time and see what I'm hearing in the pregame and see what the overnight reports from Adam Schefter. If you listen to me on the radio on the pregame show on Sirius XM Fantasy Sports Radio, we discuss these in depth. If you go to the game day page at footballguys.com, it's fantastic. They document all those things in chronological order. So you'll have a good idea of and even the late games, you get a little idea. And so I'm watching for those reports and seeing if there's anything that gives me a hint that the Buccaneers feel like it, or I'm going out to what I'm doing and I'm going to share it with people, is, on the air, or you'll get it shared through Football Guys. I'm sharing that with the team back at Football Guys. They're putting it up. They're out searching for things that they're putting them up. So we're looking at the beat reporters in real time on X and other platforms to see what the word is. And we're using that to make that final assessment. So on a late afternoon kickoff, two players in the same game, you can kind of take that out there and sort it through. And if in the end your gut feeling is, man, I just don't trust Bucky Irving, he's hurt, he left last week's game early, that's a perfectly no matter what anyone's telling you, right? If that's your feeling, that's what you have to live with. Gus Edwards, has not been a high-end producer, but he does have goal line equity. He does have most of the touches in that backfield. Kamani Vidal notwithstanding. So there you have it. We'll get into some of these other questions, right? And go through this. I brought this up, so I should. Yeah. High school wide receiver is out and Bucky Irving is out. The reference is Ladd McConkey, who will soon get out of puberty. Looks like a kid, and yet he's a force, man. Matt Waldman loves him. I've come around on him. So if both those are out, I play Sincere McCormick. I would. Oh, so you think you need like a high upside swing or something here? I don't know. I mean, look, this is going to be part of everybody's decision, right? Is what your circumstance is. Did you play Cooper Kupp? Did you play anybody in that game not named Puka Nacua? You're probably playing catch up, right? So you may need to swing for the fence a little bit. I don't see Sincere McCormick as a swing for the fence play, but I do see him as a guy I'd probably rather play than Sean Tucker. But that's your hunch. I mean, Sean Tucker, Rachaad White's played really well. So anyway, we'll get into all this. Let's get into some stuff, some newsy stuff before we get into all this. The big news of the day, of course, is CPD3 sitting there watching the UFOs in New Jersey. I hope that all comes out well. What the hell's going on there, people? All right. And man, John Fusek, man, so sorry to hear this, man. I hope everything's going well, and I hope your recovery's ongoing, man. So don't worry about your typing. We're not. We're fine with it. Just do your thing, man. Appreciate you coming and battling through all this and still loving the fantasy football as we all do. All right. So let's do some newsy things here real quick and just get them out of the way. Some players you need to know about to make sure that's not incorrect. I mean, that seems likely. Touchdowns are always possible, though, right? So we'll see what's going on. Desmond Evans was listening to the XFL. I was a little surprised to hear you say Knicks over Hurts. So that's my hunch, right? We'll talk about this a little bit. So I talked about my in and out column, me being out on Hurts. I'm expecting Hurts to finish as a quarterback one, but at the tail ends. Here's the thing. He's not getting the passing volume. They're leaning more heavily on Saquon Barkley. A.J. Brown has a tough matchup against Joey Porter Jr. Look, there's a squeaky wheel thing going on here with A.J. Brown. Like, they need to force him the ball. Can they force him the ball in this matchup? One quarterback, a single quarterback, has hit 20 points this year, and it was Joe Burrow. And I think Joe Burrow is going to hit 20 points a game no matter what. Nobody else has. In fact, the three other highest were 15-point outings, right? Like, that's serviceable. I would play it, but Bo Nix in a matchup, and so Bo Nix in a matchup against the Indianapolis Colts seems far more appealing to me, right? Like, Hurts has a single 300-yard game this season. You're going up against a defense that's allowed 4 wide receivers to catch touchdowns this year. Like, I don't, like, it may be slightly controversial, and I think probably it is because Hurts has been locked in. And look, he has rushing equity near the goal line. So does Bo Nix all over the field. He has great weapons. So does Bo Nix, according to Cortland Sutton. And Bo Nix has been super productive over the course of time. So this is more about the matchup. I think, Desmond, I mean, and again, I'm not sitting here pretending I know with certainty what's going on. Well, I just have my belief is based on the matchup that Jalen Hurts is going to have a hard time. Football Guy's projection is quarterback 5. In my in and out, I say he's going to end up not hitting that number, right? So that's as far as I'm going. But Bo Nix is quarterback 8. And I think he is going to hit that number. So there we have that. So, right. It is a hot take, right? Just like let's look at, and I want to look at this a little bit because I think it's a fair situation here. But Bo Nix, I mean, like if you're asking me if I would rather play, so Bo Nix currently sits as quarterback 9 on the season, averaging 17.4 points per game, right? Kyler Murray's quarterback 8, by the way, 17.5. Jalen Hurts, quarterback 3 with 22.3 points. It's based heavily on the touchdowns. It's not passing volume, right? Well, let's dial this in since, like, let's say week 8 and see what's going on here with the quarterbacks. Still about the same. Justin Herbert's moved in. So from weeks 8 through 13, Bo Nix was quarterback 4. Well ahead of Patrick Mahomes, Jaden Daniels, Tua Tagovailoa, Matthew Stafford, Justin Herbert. So, like, this is the thing, right? Like, I'm sitting here trying to find edges and matchups, right? You still want to play your smartest plays. And I'm not sitting here telling you, oh, don't play Jalen Hurts or don't play Jalen Hurts, play Jared Goff or, like a guy who has a lot of upside, but isn't as bit as a good, consistent weekly producer. Right. But these are the decisions we have to make. And so Jalen Hurts and Knicks is a pretty close decision for me. I'm probably playing the matchup. There are people out there who would say, you just play your depth chart. Jeff Mans would be one of them, my co-host on the radio show. So yes, it is a little bit of a hot take. But check it out. More for DFS players, right? But like Murray and Knicks, that's way closer. More for DFS players. Like Jalen Hurts is $8,000 on DraftKings. He's the 3rd highest priced quarterback. I'm not sure that's the best investment. All right. Let's go through the news, the newsy stuff of the news. Today's news. The players that you cannot play at the quarterback position. You shouldn't play Derek Carr. He's doubtful. He's not going to play. Jake Hayner's going to start. It's the broken left hand, concussion. Drew Lock is doubtful. He's not going to play. It's going to be Tommy DeVito. Aiden O'Connell seems unlikely to play. It's a Monday night game. We'll get the injury designation later today, or Scampers will break it in the chat. Justin Herbert, though, off the injury report in a great matchup against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We'll talk about Ladd McConkey here in a second. As Jim Harbaugh said of Justin Herbert, he has the strength of 10, man. 10. Dude, Justin Herbert, he's impressive, man. When he unleashes that cannon, it's impressive. A running back position, Kenneth Walker III, doubtful, not going to play. Fire up your Chardonnay, everybody. Pour that glass full to the top against the Packers. Sunday night game, by the way. So watch out for that. Bucky Irving, as we've mentioned, is questionable. Did not practice for 2 days, was limited the third day. He's dealing with a back issue. Those can be tricky. Rachaad White is perfectly serviceable. It's not the greatest matchup against the Chargers defense, but there you have it. DeAndre Swift and Roschon Johnson. Roschon Johnson, I don't think is going to play. Hasn't been cleared from the concussion protocol. I don't know that he will be. DeAndre Swift is been doing the thing they did last week where they were holding him out. And then I think he got into limited work yesterday. It's a Monday night game. We'll know more about the injury report later. I'm betting he'll be questionable. I don't know if a fallback running back in Chicago is the ideal game plan for him. Maybe you want to look to the receiving course for either team. Maybe another Monday night play, Ray McLeod or somebody. But it would be Travis Homer and Darrington Evans if you wanted to dip into that. I'm going to talk about Ray McLeod here in a minute. Tony Pollard listed as questionable. I think he will play. He's, Ryan Callahan talked about it a couple weeks ago, said he may not practice again all year, and he's still going to play. And so I think he's going to play, but maybe he's not. This is like 2 did not practices in a limited session is what I want to say happened. I'm double checking that. Yes. So Tyjae Spears is always lurking in the background. So Breece Hall is listed as questionable. The news is really positive. Rich Cimini from ESPN said it looks good. It's promising. They expect him to play. Jeff Ulbrich, the interim coach, said basically the same. Seems surprising. 2 days of not practicing and then full practice yesterday. Who knows what that backfield is going on? It's a great matchup against the Jacksonville Jaguars. If I had to play one of those guys, I would be playing Hall right now based on what we know. Right. And I'd be looking for other options on teams that only have 1 or 2 healthy running backs, and one of them is going to get the vast majority of the workload. I would feel better about that. But if I needed to play Breece Hall, I would. Alexander Madison's full go, but Sincere McCormick's going to start for the Raiders on Monday night. Antonio Pierce is in on the young receiver. Wide receivers, George Pickens not playing. He's ruled out again against the Eagles, so maybe some Mike Williams and maybe a little better opportunities for Pat Freiermuth. Maybe you want to take some dart tosses on Calvin Austin III. Feel it. Cedric Tillman out again. A lot of bandwidth for Jerry Jeudy. Chiefs pass defense has not been that great. They're going to have to, I want to say the 10th most yards to receivers. So a lot of volume for Jerry Jeudy again. The great Jerry Jeudy, as Mike Dempsey would have me say. Michael Woods, not so much. Elijah Moore, maybe. We'll talk about David Njoku in a second. Noah Brown, by the way, is out and going to miss the rest of the season. He had a lacerated kidney or something horrible. So De'Ami Brown, Olamide Zaccheaus, Luke McCaffrey are all in the mix. Maybe Jamison Crowder. We'll see if he's elevated today. He plays the slot a lot. Maybe he gets some work. But Terry McLaurin is locked in. Zach Ertz has been playing reasonably well. And then we get to the guys that are questionable. Ladd McConkey, first and foremost. I think he's going to play. My hunch, we won't know. It's a late afternoon kickoff. Have your fallback plans in place. Josh Palmer, I don't know, a Tampa Bay wide receiver, McMillan, in case he scores touchdowns. Have somebody in place in case. But I do think McConkey's going to play. He was limited all week, watching the local beat writers, posting video of his workouts. He doesn't have the big brace, the bulkier brace on his knee. And so we got that. Sterling Shepard is questionable in that same game, so he might not want to be your fallback. Don't have a really good feel for this. I don't hope you don't have to play him. Josh Downs, questionable this week, but sounds like he's good to go. Mike Chappell from local beat writer there, who's been covering this team since I've been in this business, and that's more than 30 years. Is really optimistic about him playing and really optimistic about what he can do against the Denver pass defense. Michael Pittman, less so. So we'll see. Josh Downs, though, viable. Remember, he was pushing up against wide receiver 1 territory there for a while, we felt like. So I'd like to play him as maybe a wide receiver 3 level and see how it goes. Mike Evans, by the way, is off the injury report. Romeo Doubs off the injury report. Keon Coleman for the Bills off the injury report. Jalen Coker, finally, for all you Coker heads, is off the injury report. We'll see if he can put a dent in the great Adam Thielen, the title photo of this very video. Tight end position, no Evan Ingram. Done for the year. Brett Strange moves up in the rotation. He's a viable streamer. He had, I think, he had some TDs. He was a TD scorer. We'll see how it goes with him. But like, again, don't force him into lineups, people. That's not what I'm saying. Oh, pouring one out here. I saw a comment that I thought was very good. If we can't fire the dismissal, can we drop the smart bomb? That was clever. Who said that? I have to find that. I should have started that. Here it is. Andy and Renee. Well, Stone Cold Smart. According to Andrew Cooper, his parents were big wrestling fans. That's his name. Stone Cold Smart. Maybe. Maybe I'm not against it. But yeah, Will Dissly's out. Maybe we'll miss another game. It's sad, tragic happening. Hate when we can't fire the dismissal. David Njoku, we had mentioned, is listed as questionable. The early reporting on him was not positive. Mary Kay Cabot, who's covered that team for many years, felt like earlier in the week that he would not play, but he made it back on the practice field. It sounds like he's trying to work his way back. Boy, that offense has been so much volume, right? Over 40 passes a week in 5 of Jameis Winston's 6 starts, right? So, man, would love to be able to play David Njoku, but don't know if we can. And don't know if I want to play Dalton Kincaid. He's listed as questionable, but he practiced fully all week. So we'll see. Maybe they don't have as much faith in him as I do. I don't know. It's a big game, I'm told. Buffalo, Detroit. Hope everyone enjoyed their Josh Allen last week, a world record quarterback score of over 50 points. Coffee, good. All right. One more time. We're going to get into questions. I'm going to answer them. You're going to heed what I say, only to the point you're comfortable, right? Like my Jalen Hurts take might disturb you, and you think, hell no, I'm not doing that. Well, don't do that. You got this far. You're in the playoffs. I wasn't there sitting on your lap, helping you make the selections and clicking the boxes. You were doing it, and you can continue doing it. The fun thing about this is, like, and I believe this since the day I got into this business in 1993. I don't know any more than you. Let me rephrase that. I'm no smarter than you about this stuff, right? Like, you know football, you know how you built your team, you know probably more about the circumstances you're facing. Who did you play against? Who are you playing against? Who did you line up Thursday night? Who did they line up Thursday night? What's your own personal risk tolerance level? All these things. I'm steeped in the subject, and I have some information that I can share that maybe helps illuminate your path, right? Helps you make the choice, or firms up a choice you've already made, or maybe helps you jump off one side of the fence or the other. The goal here is not telling you what to do, because that's not what I do. But I am willing to tell you what I will do, and we'll get into it right now with Bruce Jacobson. Hi, Bob. My last Saturday of the year tuning in. Hopefully not, right? Standard, McCormick or Warren, and what would you need to hear about McConkey at 4:15 to not play him in favor of Reed or Odunze? I'd have to hear he's inactive. Otherwise, I'm playing him. Like, once he's made it on the field, he's been super resilient. But he is hurt, right? And Odunze coming off a 2-touchdown week. I'm in. The quarterback I'm in on this week, by the way, like a little advanced notice, you're getting the sneak peek of this week's in and out column, is Caleb Williams, right? And like, this is not a super hot take, because not 2 weeks ago he had a fantastic game against these Minnesota Vikings, right? So I know last week wasn't great. Last week wasn't great for Caleb Williams, but he was still quarterback 11. It was a 16-point game based on the 2 touchdowns, primarily to Odunze. Look, Jalen Reed, you could play him all you want, but it's a hit or miss proposition, people, and it's hit far fewer times than it's missed, right? It's just the way it is. But it's kind of whack-a-mole in my estimation with the Packers wide receivers. You're taking your chances. It seems like one of them is going to have a good game. They're leaning so heavily into Josh Jacobs, and they're picking and choosing their big plays. You know, I can go back to early this year. I was out on Jayden Reed for a game against the Bears because they were super tough against slot receivers, right? Like, the third play of the game, he catches the touchdown. Like, they'd only given up 2 touchdowns to slot receivers all year. He catches a touchdown. I'm thinking, this is horrible. He ended up with 2 catches on the day. right? Then what was it against Detroit? One of the best slot matchups. Listen to that, Khalil Shakir, people. One of the best matchups for slot receivers, and he was shut out, right? So Reed is not a guy I'm interested in playing. I would probably like him slightly over Odunze because I think Odunze, well, maybe Odunze's coming on. You know, I probably shouldn't be so dismissive. They're both dealing with situations where they're one of many. In Dunze's case, it's 3. In Reed's case, it's more. It could be a Wicks game. Romeo Dobbs is back. Christian Watson has had some huge games in recent weeks. Dontavian Wicks could jump into the mix. Malik Heath, Bo Melton, and also Tucker Kraft is there. So with Odunze, it's maybe a little narrower funnel with DJ Moore and Keenan Allen, less so Cole Kmet. Rachel, this is hard, but I'm glad you brought up Ray McCloud. I want to bring up some numbers here. By the way, Rachaad White is probably the safer play. So if Bucky Irving is available, what am I going to do? I would heavily consider playing Rachaad White. Like, you just don't know with Bucky Irving. You're gonna have to sit there and say, can I live with myself if Bucky Irving has a New York Giants level output, what do you have, 150 yards from scrimmage, or heaven forbid, 2 weeks ago when he had 152 rushing yards or whatever, a 97-yard fourth quarter over Bucky. So the thing is, Rachaad White produces almost no matter what. Sincere McCormick, I think, is in a good spot to get workload. I don't know that he's a high-end producer. Tucker Kraft, capable of scoring big touchdowns. Elijah Moore going to get reasonable volume. Jaden Reed, I just laid out my concerns there. I want to talk a little bit about the Atlanta receiving corps over this 4-game skid by the great Kirk Cousins. So over the last 4 games, Ray McCloud is wide receiver 38. He's averaging 14 points a game. Drake London, wide receiver 41 over that span. Looking, where is Darnell Mooney is wide receiver 55 over the last 4 games. It's been a horrible 4-game skid. Do we think that this is going to get reversed at some point? Yes. Is Ray McCloud a guy that I'm eager to play? He's wide receiver 38. Probably not, under these circumstances, I'd probably play McCormick ahead of him. I'd probably play Kraft ahead of him. I might play Elijah Moore ahead of him, given the volume. I'd want to focus on those running backs, Rachel. So I would want to play one of the Buccaneers running backs and I'm hoping if that's the case, Bucky White's ruled out and I get a clear path for Rachaad White. And I would probably say after that, the flex, I would probably go McCormick, but if you needed more of a swing for the fence play, I think it's probably Tucker Kraft. You need some touchdowns. PPR flex spot and a running back, James Cook versus Detroit, Breece Hall if active versus Jacksonville, and Mooney versus Las Vegas. And DeAndre Hopkins versus Cleveland. So don't like the matchup for Cook. I know that he's been touchdown dependent either way, and he could get touchdowns. This is probably going to be a high scoring game. Josh Allen seems to be a limiting factor near the goal line, capable of scoring 3 touchdowns. And by the way, you basically answered the question, right? Like, you're worried about Cook. If you're worried about Cook, I mean, Hall, if active, might be a viable play, but he's going to share. Cook's going to share a little bit, but he's going to share a lot with Josh Allen. That's my problem with him. Capable of having big games. This is a 54.5 point over under in that Detroit Buffalo game. So there's going to be a lot of scoring. And every time I fade Cook, he is a touchdown week. So that's pretty tough. It's pretty tough. I probably still have more faith in Cook than I would in Hall, to be honest with you. Even a great matchup. It's just the uncertainty of how much are we going to see Braylon Allen, and more concerning is Isaiah Davis, who seems to be the receiving asset, who kind of, remember the last game Hall played, that's when he started his rise up into prominence, or at least on our radar. So I'd probably go with Cook and hope he gets a touchdown. I like Hopkins over Mooney. By golly. Hi, Steve. Good morning. Hi. Tracy versus Ravens, McCormick versus Falcons, Warren versus Eagles. I'd probably play I'm playing Tracy for sure. Eagles are a tough matchup. I wonder if Jaylen Warren isn't the play there, though, in a PPR. I'd probably go with that. Hate that Cooper Kupp thing when that happens. I need help. Herbert versus Tampa Bay, Knicks versus Indianapolis, or shoot for upside and pick up Richardson versus Denver. I'm probably going to play Knicks in that one, although I really like Herbert an awful lot. It's a great matchup for him against Tampa Bay. I'm assuming he has Ladd McConkey. It's still close. I still like Knicks better against Indianapolis. Richardson, I get the upside. I get that he's a swing for the fence play. I don't know if Denver's the fence I'm swinging for in Denver. Point per completion, 6 TDs. As an underdog, would you go Kyler or Winston? Volume seems important. This league's going, but I might go Kyler against the New England Patriots in this one. Again, wouldn't be afraid of Winston. It's, our projections are way higher on Kyler than Winston. In my mind, the gap is probably closer just based on the anticipated volume. Like you could see a game script where they'll be throwing a lot, like in Denver, but maybe not that much because nobody throws that much. But like something along those lines. It seems like every game. There's been the one game against, I want to say the first game against Pittsburgh, he had 27 attempts. And that's because I think Nick Chubb had the 2 touchdowns, goal line touchdowns. So, it was different game script. So, Kyler's probably the play for me there. Jennings in another your dynasty, though. So her. All right, John, here we go. Injuries have decimated my NFFC. I'm guessing playoff team need to flex from Mims versus Indy, Madison versus Atlanta, Justice Hill versus New York Giants, Lazard versus Jacksonville, Palmer versus McConkey. What is the Baltimore game? I feel like Justice Hill is probably my answer. Derrick Henry got his haircut. Obviously, he will not play well. Okay, I'm lying. That's not true. He will still be dominant. He's was looking for kickoff times. I don't know why that isn't. Yeah, Baltimore's an early kickoff. I just wanted to make sure of that. So you'd have to decide that in advance. If you want to wait out McConkey, which I wouldn't mind doing. I mean, Palmer's a fine fallback. I'd probably do that. I would probably do that to wait out McConkey. Order them up. I'm starting at the bottom here just to see what's going on with all you people. Since I'm up at the top reading questions, I'm taking a moment. This is the truest statement I've seen all day. Hello, terminal sarcasm. I am Bob Harris. Damn glad to meet y'all. Zare in the house. I am. If you just tuned in, I am Bob Harris. Hi, how are you? You can find me at footballguys.com. It's a website. My fantasy notebook article's out, free, available to everyone. He's out every Thursday. Dig into some of the top performances this week. Hello, Linda. Nice to see you. Big performances. I have Stephon Allen and Darnold and the great Vikings quarterback, Sam Darnold, and his array of weaponry. It's been joyous, right? Saquon Barkley, a lot of talk in there, a lot of talk about the replacement running backs and what they came in and did. So check that out. Yesterday, Friday, Gary Davenport and I put out our polarizing players. Then today, later, will be my in and out. Every morning, you can hear me on the daily update podcast. 10 minutes of joyous nuggets of news and information with myself and Mike Dempsey. Check that out every damn day. My live stream on Tuesday, the hot seat here with a guest every week. This past week, Mike Kashuba, new staffer at Football Guys, did a great job. Rachel was on 2 weeks ago. Go check her out too. And every night, pretty much, Sirius XM Fantasy Sports Radio. I'm on Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, 10 to midnight, Saturdays, 8 to 11 on the NFL channel and NFL radio and the fantasy channel. Then Sundays on the pregame show. You can also go to the fantasy football channel here at Football Guys, watch a great pregame show with led by Joey Wright and the crew. Check out that channel. Always great stuff from Dave Kluge and Alfredo Brown. Also the Dynasty channel with Jeff and Jagger, Jeff Bell and Jagger May. And others, and DFS shows here on the Audible channel with Devin Knotts and others, and of course Sigmund and Cecil, which is where the money gets made here, right? What do I do on Tuesdays? I do the live stream. I do a lot of stuff. There's stuff every day. I do the news. So on Monday and Tuesday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, I do the news at the website and for the email. And then I do the hot seat, and then I record the podcast late at night, and then I go to bed and sleep a little bit. It's joyous. Willie Snyder, this is a great question. Thank you. I hope you have a great day too. Thanks for subscribing. We appreciate that. So in this case, the reliable floor of Herbert in a great matchup, I'm playing that as long as I know there's a Ladd McConkey. I think that's the secret sauce there, right? And so they're both late afternoon kickoffs, so you'll be able to determine in advance if there's going to be a McConkey. I love just, eyeball test wise watching Justin Herbert play. I saw someone have a comment in the chat. I'll try to find it, but man, when he unleashes that, when he throws that ball, it's a thing of beauty. Anyway, I would probably go with him, but he is nicked up, right? So like, is it a reliable floor? Is Goff, Goff's at home, a lot to like there, and what should be a huge shootout. So, Willie, this is what you need to do. You need to look at your opponent's lineup, see what the projected scoring is, and you can do that. Put both players in your lineup, see what the projections are, and kind of get a better feel for what the platform you're playing on. I know if it's sleeper, it'll give you the projected wins. I think ESPN does that as well. I think My Fantasy League does that as well. So that would be where I go. Order them anyway. Okay, that's horrible. I do that too. I don't order stuff when it's horrible out. Let's talk about this guy. Love Thielen, man. This is a good matchup. Like this game. Like the Cowboys, the underdogs going into this one. Love Rico Dowdle this week. He is the running back I'm in on. Against the Panthers. How can you not? But also just the volume has picked up and the production has been there. It is Grant Calcaterra season. Don't worry, I'm just catching up on the stuff. We got Royal Slade out there standing for his Patriots. Good work. Dude, I like Drake May, man. Drake May this is the thing for Drake May. And this is it. Protect him and get him a real wide receiver. I mean, you're like 2, maybe 3. Might need. Anyway, that is a fair point. He left. Gut check from a week ago on Drake May. It's a fantastic piece, in depth stuff. Here it is. Love it. Big guy. I agree with Harbaugh. Strength of 10 men. But he is beat up. I mean, do you want a guy going into the game with like as I'm thinking about this, reflecting on it as I'm reading through the comments. I mean, that is, like when you're assessing two players who are essentially fairly close and you think, okay, well, why don't I just play the healthy one? That's a reasonable view. That's not a bad way to approach it, I'm going to say. And I don't know if Herbert doesn't have a fair amount of upside of his own. Look at Willie working it, man. Look at Willie working it. I don't disagree with that take. I could see it playing out that way. I could definitely see it playing out that way. Like the way you're thinking it out, Willie. And that, and if you're in, that's the circumstance, right? And also, look at what you need. Like, do you need that upside? Do you need that home run swing? The high floor guy in a great matchup is always the guy, because he might also exceed the floor in a super great matchup, right? So I'm with you on this one. That would scare me too. If you have both of them, it might be difficult for you to make that decision in real time if Bucky Irving is active. So I mean, like I said, we tend to inflate, our concerns kind of blow up in our mind with the uncertainty, right? Uncertainty is like a vacuum. It sucks up all the horrors that we can imagine. And we have that uncertainty with Irving based on last week and also based on what's going on this week. So, in a perfect world, we'd have all this information in advance. That's not the world we live in. We live in a world where we have to deal with and navigate through these uncertainties and difficult issues. And part of this is your own risk tolerance, Mark, or is the upside of of Bucky Irving getting his usual workload in a not the best matchup in the world, right? Is that worth the chances of him leaving the game early as he did last week? That's a you question. Josh Allen is a monster. Like quarterback 1 or 2 annually. I was looking at his ADP. He was quarterback 1 this year, taken the 28th pick overall. Compared to that Sam Darnold, though, who was taken like in the 16th round and is putting up some really great numbers. So check out that number, that fantasy notebook. All right, let's answer some more questions. A lot of drone talk in the chat. Love that. Love the drone thing. Come on. We all know what's going on with the drones, don't we? What's going on with the drones? Theories are we'll take them. I have mine. I don't know if you're interested. Dropping Debo. Let's talk about Debo for a second. Debo thinks he is not struggling. Community Notes had other ideas, and they were correct in this case. He is struggling. It's been miserable. We saw the drops in this game. But from a fantasy perspective, he's like the last 4 games have been horrible. I'm certainly not playing him. I can't play him. You're playing his name right now. You're not playing his production. I try to divorce the names from the numbers, right? And that's difficult. But it's really easy. This is so close that I'm going to let you decide. I'm probably playing the healthy one. I have him slightly ahead in my rankings this week. Bo Nix over Herbert. And that's probably the difference for me. It's a great matchup. Also, I'm probably playing Bo Nix this week. And for the reason I stated, like one of them's all the way hell. It's very close. Both have great matchups. So we'll do this again. If McConkey goes, would you choose him over BJT? I don't know that BTJ. You don't get that choice because it's an early kickoff for Tampa or for Jacksonville. You have to decide in advance. And so another little preview. I'm out on BTJ, but not because I don't think he's capable of making a big play any week. He is. And he's made them in the last 2 weeks. He scored at least 16 points. He's had 10 targets at least in each of the last 2 games. I'm not a big fan of Mac Jones. Sauce Gardner should be back. There's a lot of reasons why I would dial back. I would rather play McConkey at a PPR. If I had that choice this week, I'd feel more comfortable with it. But when I say I'm out on BTJ, I'm out on him at his current projection, which is really high. I want to say right around wide receiver 12 or so. He's still a solid wide receiver 2 to me. So if I had to make that decision in advance without advanced information coming from reliable reports, which we will probably get overnight on McConkey, I would probably play BTJ. A 100% a TD. Royal Slade, I hear you. This is an interesting one. Should you trust AJ Brown this week? I trust that they want to get him to football. I mean, we've all seen what's gone on there. His comments after the last game that with the issues, the issue has not been, I don't think, AJ Brown. It's just been the passing volume, right? Like when you have an MVP level running back, it's hard to get the job done. And so I do think with AJ Brown, there are some numbers I could share with you, and I shall, because I'm good like that. Bring that up. The problems are pretty obvious to me. There's the issue of Joey Porter Jr. for just the starting point. But it's also the passing volume has not been great. And the matchup isn't great. What do we got here? Give me the numbers here. So he's averaging 5.9 targets a game over the last 8 weeks. He wasn't targeted until the late in the second quarter last week. He was complaining. So now we've got Kellen Moore and Hurts. Kellen Moore talking about getting the ball more, but it's a tough matchup. You got Joey Porter Jr., Mike Clay had this on ESPN. Drake London, Cortland Sutton, CeeDee Lamb, Terry McLaurin, T. Higgins all had 13 points or fewer when Porter shadowed him. They've allowed, in general, the 6th fewest wide receiver fantasy points, and they're tied for the 4th fewest touchdowns allowed at the position. I mean, I think it's a tough road to hoe for him. So, do I trust him? No, but he's a very good player, and I would have to have a really good list of options to play him. But realize that that's the range of possible outcomes is another downer. Right, and this is probably the right answer, right? Do you have anyone you can start over him? Probably not. Correct. It's a tough match. Same with Jalen Hurts. This is my position on Jalen Hurts. You're gonna start him. You're gonna start AJ Brown, but we should set our expectations a little different. Maybe we have to make different decisions at other positions to give us more upside. If we played Cooper Kupp, maybe we have to take big swings with somebody else. I do own a non-PPR, Khalil Shakir or Drake London. Boy, how do you trust Drake London right now? Do you expect a rebound game, for Kirk Cousins? I mean, it's coming. The momentum has gone so far in one direction. It's 4 games without a touchdown, multiple interceptions. You would think that's going to change, right? It's going to snap back at some point. Do I trust it? I would start, Khalil Shakir has scored touchdowns, but he's just very busy. It's a great matchup I mentioned earlier against Detroit. The slot receivers have been rocking it. I'd probably play Shakir right now. I would wait. If Pollard's playing, I would play him, Willie. I am playing Lamb, Evans, and McLaurin. It's a good group to have to decide between. I think the delightful name value of Love and Chubb combine to give you greatness. I might. I don't know if I'd bench Love, but I'm probably benching Chubb in this one. The whole Eagles offense has been frustrating. No, Saquon Barkley has not been frustrating, but the rest of it, yeah. Matthew Berry had a note on Devontae Smith. In the games he hasn't scored a touchdown, he has been held under 7 fantasy points. I mean, it's just like, that's a brutal number, right? Mm-hmm. Pittsburgh gives the 4th fewest touchdowns allowed, and Smith has gone 7.0 points in every game, which he hasn't reached the end zone. And AJ Brown's complaining about his role, and they're going to be looking his way mostly. Appreciate you coming, man. Jakobi Meyers. Instead of AJ Brown, I'm like, do I trust the quarterback? This is the problem for me. I love Jakobi Meyers. I think he's like a rock solid play every week. He's been relatively quarterback proof in his time with the Raiders. Is that extend to Desmond Ridder in a great revenge game? If it is Desmond Ridder, right? Boy, that's tough. Don't know that I do that. I do know. Some people rub some people the wrong way. It just happens. I want to go back to that. I want to just check. Since he's come back, I mean, from injury, the target share and the workload and the production for Myers has been massive. Kenneth Walker is doubtful and unlikely to play. This is also true, right? And sometimes you just play your best football players. These are hard decisions, right? And here's the big thing about this time of year. We want to get cute. We want to outsmart ourselves. We want to forget the things that got us where we are, right? Because, it matters most. And we're like, for me, I'm setting 30 lineups or more every week during the regular season. Now I'm setting fewer. I have more time to sit here and grind away on single lineups, right? That would be the hope. I don't know if that's the matchup for it. But honestly, is that a potential outcome? Sure. It would be the first 3-touchdown game Jalen Hurts has thrown all year. And it's still entirely possible because football is a weird game. Jacoby Myers is going to play. I don't know if that I start him over. I don't know if I start him over Judy right now or not. Judy's just been on such a heater. You think that momentum? I kind of feel like that momentum's gone too far, but that's just my hunch. I mean, Jacoby Myers is like, let's just go to the darn numbers. Going back the last 4 weeks, he's wide receiver 16, Jacoby Myers, right? I'm trying to find when he came from. Like, he has been rock solid. Go back to like week 8. He's been wide receiver 16. I mean, he's been dead solid, man. Every game since his return from injury. He has been a very reliable player. I don't know that he's high end because I don't know that anyone in the Raiders offense not named Brock Bowers is high end. Judy gives you that huge upside. So I might want to play. That might be the answer there. Do you need that huge upside, or you just need a safe play? It seems like he's been incredibly safe. Things change. Don't sit AJ. The other two, perfectly fine. You might have developed other players. Okay. This just in. I'm not going to get to all the questions. Probably not possible. So I do the best I can. If you don't get your question answered, you can go to footballguys.com, check my rankings, and they will be. I don't see you at the top of the chat. Sorry, man. I don't see you anywhere in the chat. There it is. BTJ versus Jets or Flowers versus Giants non-PPR going against Lamar. I could play Flowers there. I mean, it kind of cancels out. Again, I'm out on BTJ because I don't think he's going to make his projection. His projection is fairly high this week. Sauce Gardner's back. There's a lot of things I don't like about it, but he is a huge big play threat anytime. So if you need that swing for the fence play, that would probably be the better play if you need a swing for the fence. I want to say his projection is this week. He's projected to be wide receiver 10, right? I think that's a little high given this matchup. By the way, he's projected ahead of A.J. Brown this week, which I don't know if I'd go that far. So, and this is our projection team. This is not my rankings. This is I like to go to the raw projection sometimes because two things. These guys are very good at what they do. And they've been doing it for over 20 years now, the whole group of Mauriel Tremblay, Jason Wood, Bob Henry, Justin Freeman, Bloom. They do a great job. So, all right, Albert. DJ Moore versus Minnesota, Jerry Jeudy versus KC, Darnell Mooney versus Las Vegas. I take the first two myself. Hello, Grandmama. Nice to see you. Thank you for coming. I am playing. Wow. Chase Brown and Chuba. And then it's between Jacobs and Charbonnet. Jacobs has been really touchdown dependent, but he's been scoring some touchdowns recently. Wow. I'm going to go to the projections on this one. That's super tough. I mean, that's like almost pick your poison territory for me there, kids. We just want to see if we've got an adjusted projection on Charbonnet now that we've got. Yeah, the projections like Charbonnet better, or Jacobs is 6, Charbonnet is 10. That would be the final call. I will take that. I would play Brown and Gibbs there. I would go Sincere McCormick, and maybe probably Dubs is the safe play. I wouldn't be against it. Like Tim Patrick is on the field a lot because he blocks and he can make big plays. But I mean, that seems like such a dart toss. In a PPR, I'd probably go Dubs and Sincere McCormick. No, I'm not. Let me look at my rankings. I thought I had moved Mooney down from the projections. Sometimes. So here's the thing about the rankings. No, this is not a complaint. This is just a fact. Sometimes the rankings in my back end, yeah, I'm way higher on Mooney than I should be. No, I'd play Cooper over Mooney, 100%. And I'm going to make that adjustment now, Lester. That is correct. This is why I do this. Like this. So this is just a little behind the scenes stuff. We've got a couple minutes left. I don't know how many more questions I'm going to get to. We'll try to get this one here. Outside of Al Kamara, I have no studs. Just a bunch of intriguing flesh plays as a major underdog. Do I just play my matchups and my hunches? Yes, if that's what you have, a bunch of intriguing flex plays, that's exactly what you do, right? You hope Kamara delivers. He had a couple of days of sick leave there early in the week, but he was back yesterday, and I think he's probably good to go. And I like a lot about the Commanders in this. I love Brian Robinson this week, but Alvin Kamara is the only thing I like on that side of the ball. I don't trust Breece Hall a ton, but I don't feel good about Najee either. So, I mean, that's going to be a split in both those cases. I might play the matchup there. Anyway, something I do, one of the reasons I do this is because it helps me think through my rankings. Like when we're doing our rankings, I take the raw projections, I plug them into my rankings, and I go through and I make adjustments. If I don't, like, there may be players that I'm not looking at in that lower end range tier of players that I don't have decisions to make between. Like there's players that I want to make sure I'm higher on the projections or not. A lot of them, I just don't pay attention to the projections until somebody asks me a question about them. Fortunately, I sit on the radio every night, Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday night, taking tons of questions, and I go through and I tweak my rankings based on that, looking at the circumstances, the matchups. But it's having these questions that are him or him that make you think through. So thank you for that question, Lester. And also thank you all for all your questions. It's super helpful to me. This is one of the reasons I do. The other reason is that I learn a lot from you, and I get a little understanding of the kind of circumstances you're all dealing with, including the drones flying over New Jersey that we have not solved yet. I thought we would have a solution to this by the end of the show. I do not see that solution. I'm not saying I'm disappointed in y'all. Not that. It's not true. Never disappointed. Always happy I came here. I'm looking forward to next week when we'll do it all again, and hopefully you'll all still be in the mix and be ready to roll on this. Good luck in all your matchups. And listen to me on the radio again tonight, 8 to 11. We'll take calls, by the way. We'll have Casey Joyner, the football scientist, on with us. And also Jamie Calandro to talk a little DFS. We'll have the beat writers from Detroit and Buffalo to discuss the potential outcome of that game. I'll be on the pregame show tomorrow with Jeff Mans. Check the footballguys.com game day page. Great information, great intel in real time, inactives, real time, reports, hints, rumors, all those things in general to kind of keep you up to speed and give you the best information possible. All available at footballguys.com every Sunday morning. Do a great job there with the crew putting that all together. Joe Bryant, Keith Overton, Clayton Gray, Jason Wood, all of us diving in and handling that business, news and notes, all kinds of information throughout the day. So follow up on that. Watch the pregame show on the YouTube channel, the Fantasy Football YouTube channel. Also subscribe to all the channels. There's great stuff. I think this was fake. I think that was fake footage. Like I paid way too much attention to this, clearly. I said, this guy's people. I want information here. I want answers. Isn't that all we all want? Like, Like, I think there's some pretty obvious answers we can maybe discuss as we get further into this mystery. But for right now, I'm going to call it a day. I'm going to hope you guys have fantastic weeks of football. All of you come out with super big wins and successful playoff runs. We'll go deeper. I'll be here next week to ask questions. I'll be here on Tuesday for all the hot seat with another great guest. And we'll sort through, some roster management issues and things like that. The free agent pool gets a little slimmer this time of year. There are no more bye weeks, but we start considering if teams are going to start sitting or dialing back or taking their foot off the gas or stomping harder. I'm guessing Dan Campbell's stomping harder. Just a guess. All right, everybody. Thanks again, man. I really appreciate you. Appreciate your time. Choosing to spend some of it with me is fantastic of you. And I hope it's valuable to you as it is to me, because it's very valuable to me. All right. Appreciate you. See you next time. Good luck this weekend. Eyes to the sky, people.